me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Being willing and humble enough to ask questions and to be taught, even when you're maybe the leader or you're learning a new skill, and saying, I don't know, please teach me what you do or tell me your history. What have you tried? What worked? What didn't work? And then giving them a chance to lead you goes so far. Even I don't have to be the expert on it because I have the expert on it. And it just really allows them to shine. And then you're also giving other young professionals around you the role modeling to be like, oh, I don't have to know, I can ask.
It's also kind of putting yourself out there and making it known and advocating for yourself that you want to be a part of this, that you want to have that seat at the table. Well, what can you offer that we haven't been doing for the past 30 years? So it's my job as a young professional who's now leading this team then to make sure that they feel heard and that I'm listening and then I'm absorbing all of that knowledge.
So really building up the next generation of Parks and Recreation professionals, especially because of this kind of a diminishing workforce and stuff like that. So just really encouraging everyone to stay the course and get a seat at the table and really advocate for the future of our profession.
All right, we are live here. Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, our first inaugural voyage of the YPN every Friday show, 12 noon. So no longer we're going to have our leadership series on Fridays. We're going to convert that to YPN. And I met Gabby first, then Molly, and had this idea of doing something just for YPN as I started to discover that that was a population inside of Parks and Rec that we wanted to do something for. And then I asked, who should we have on this? And that's when they suggested Cassie, Rachel, and Max to come on with this journey. We actually had a couple others, but that couldn't make it. But I know we've also got a lot listening in the background. Today, our only goal was to press start and go live and it not crash. So we did it. We can all go home now. Great job, guys. So maybe we can just start off. Everybody maybe introduce themselves and see, maybe in one sentence, describe what YPN is and what could be a potential stated purpose. Who would like to? Molly, you want me to throw you under the bus there?
Sure, that's great.
All right.
So my name is Molly Keays. I'm the director of Parks and Recreation, town of South Windsor, Connecticut. So a population of just under 28,000 people. So I've been in my role for 4 years. I am currently the chair of the NRPA Young Professional Network. Everyone on here was either a chair or has been on the leadership team in some format. Sentence about YPN. YPN is a space for newer professionals and professionals 35 and younger to connect, learn, and engage. And quickly to say what I've gotten out of it is I've really found my people that I can network with and commiserate with sometimes, but also celebrate the wins. And people that I've really grown connections with in the field. So, I'm going to throw it to Gabby.
Okay, my name is Gabby. I am the director of Parks and Recreation for Lake Havasu City. I've been in my role for just under a year now, so time has flown by. I am the marketing chair for YPN. This is my second year with this position. If I could describe YPN, I would just say the future. I think a lot of what we do as young professionals is, like Molly said, being able to kind of network and meet one another, but the e-meetings that we do, the collaboration that's been had through all of these people across the country, I think the fun interactions we have at conference, we really are kind of setting up ourselves and the people coming up under us for the future of Parks and Recreation. So I think that's really what YPN is about, is making sure that this career progresses and we keep it on and popping.
Love it. Love it. All right. Max, you want to go next?
Sure, absolutely. Max Pierre, I'm a district superintendent here with the city of Fort Worth, Texas. I've been here for like 3 years now. Everything about YPN to me is just collaboration and connection. I love what Gabby said about definitely the future, but it's like taking all your experiences and seeing how they kind of compare to everyone else. Everyone on this call right now, I've been able to learn so much from, and then also like share my experiences. But it's a lot of collaboration. Learn so much from others, and then share it in your own way as well.
Fantastic. Rachel?
Sure. My name is Rachel Smith. I am the Deputy Director for the City of Charlottesville in Virginia. I've been in this role about 4 months, so still very new to this field as far as for the city, but I've been in recreation for over 10 years. I've been with the YPN community. This is my 3rd year on leadership, and I head up the Rec Club. It's a new initiative this year to give us some more roundtable, open conversation opportunities outside of our monthly meetings. And as far as why I love it, it's kind of in the name of Rec Club. It's Rec stands for recreate, collaborate, and exchange. And so it gives us time to really get to know each other across the country and have resources that we otherwise would never have the opportunity for.
Love it. Fantastic. Cassie?
All right, Cassie Paddock. I am the recreation manager for the city of Schertz in Texas, so we're just north of San Antonio. I've been in this role for about 3 years now. I'm the current past chair for NRPA's YPN network, and also the past chair for the Texas Recreation and Park Society Future Young Professionals branch. So I did double duty. It was chairing both those at the same time last year. So it's nice to take a step back this year. And I would echo what everybody said. You guys have all said it perfect. I think what stood out to me the most was kind of Gabby's of the future, right? So really building up the next generation of parks and recreation professionals, especially because it's kind of a diminishing workforce and stuff like that. So just really encouraging everyone to stay the course and get a seat at the table and really advocate for the future of our profession.
Yeah, love all of that. So I think, with any, you could let's just say this is the freshman class for YPN, and maybe it's like a 5-year term instead of a 1-year term, where you're really trying to take the torch away from people that have been at this for 30 years when you find yourself stepping into those leadership roles. So what are some of the first crucial things? Obviously, you can't take 30 years of wisdom on day one, but what are some maybe 101 leadership skills that you want to adapt or get from the community that you're replacing as you come into a leadership position in Parks and Rec? Anybody?
I'll take it. I would say, and I might have just said this, but like a seat at the table. So I know for my director, a lot of the times I'll just be like, I know that I have nothing to do with maybe this project that you're working on, but can I just come so I can start hearing some of these conversations and, trying to be a sponge and just absorb all of her knowledge and wisdom and things like that. So I think kind of speaking up for yourself and asking to be in those conversations and a part of those projects so that you can start to learn, because you're right, you're not going to learn everything day one. And so over the years, as you progressively get into, higher positions or leadership roles, asking to be a part of those discussions is kind of the first step to that knowledge transfer.
Well, and then I think Cassie made a good point too. It's also kind of putting yourself out there and making it known and advocating for yourself that you want to be a part of this, that you want to have that seat at the table. I think for me, at least in this new role, I've got part-time staff and some full-time staff that have been here for 30 plus years. And I'm coming into this, I am not a resident of their community, and they're kind of looking at me like, well, what can you offer that we haven't been doing for the past 30 years? So it's my job as a young professional who's now leading this team then to make sure that they feel heard and that I'm listening and then I'm absorbing all of that knowledge, because if they decide to retire or leave, that knowledge is gone. And that's so imperative for our career, because there's so many things that, we don't understand because we're just stepping into these roles, or we don't know how things have been going. I mean, Rachel's just starting in this position, and I'm sure she wasn't too familiar with maybe the city that she's a part of, and now she has to learn their nuances, right? So it's going to be really important to develop those listening skills and really listen and hear.
I would fully agree with that. It is the questions, being willing and humble enough to ask questions and to be taught, even when you're maybe the leader or you're learning a new skill, and saying, I don't know. please teach me what you do, or tell me your history. What have you tried? What worked? What didn't work? And then giving them a chance to lead you goes so far. And it builds that rapport with your staff so that even I don't have to be the expert on it because I have the expert on it. And it just really allows them to shine. It allows them to have a say. And then you're also giving other young professionals around you the role modeling to be like, oh, I don't have to know. I can ask.
Yeah, Rachel, that's a fantastic point. I think especially just like the power of asking a question or not being afraid. I think so many young professionals, you can get anxious sometimes, especially if you're, I'm sure everyone's heard this, like, especially early in your career, hey, you need to stay in your own lane. But it's just like, you want to be able to branch out and learn. And that's not going to happen unless you are just take that first step and ask questions. More often than not, I think some individuals are willing to offer information, but sometimes people just don't ask. It's not being afraid of that, because it falls into succession planning. And even if it's not a structured thing, just going and sitting with someone. Our director and two of our ADs, like, a cumulative experience of like 90 plus years specifically with the city of Fort Worth left. And we didn't have succession planning in place, but it was on the rest of us to be like, all right, you guys know all the things that you've forgotten more than what we know here. So how do we learn before you leave and kind of take some of those things on? And how do we just like try and also pass it and delegate things out? Like, sometimes there's so many silos, and what I like to do with my staff and team is being like, creating an environment where you can come to me with anything. And if I can delegate a task, please come on. Awesome. Something off my plate, you get to learn and gain experience. And then I can go on and focus on something else that might be a higher priority.
Molly, it looked like a couple of chords were struck with you over there in those last few.
I was just going like this. Well, so when I took on my role a little over 4 years ago, my predecessor was here for almost 40 years, and then left. And obviously I was just left a desk. There was no transition period. So I was in a new state, new position. So I really had to feel comfortable and confident enough to go into spaces, ask questions, listen, and understand that I'm not coming in to necessarily change the culture or what you're doing. I'm here to learn from everyone on our team, understand the operations, and then truly empower them to, continue to run their programs. And then I'm going to offer my expertise as well from my experiences and really try to enhance what we had. But it was a lot of, and it still is, it's a lot of asking questions, learning new things, being open to saying, I don't know, let's collaborate and figure this out. And then truly just offering opportunities to empower our staff. And to Max's point, succession planning, I feel like a lot of people, I don't know about larger departments, but I know like in New England, we have a lot of smaller departments. People don't succession plan. So we have a lot of older professionals that are leaving and younger professionals coming in, and they're kind of like, cool, I get to make it my own, but also like all this institutional knowledge is going away. So this is an initiative like we've been trying to do in our department, is really like, okay, let's write down how things operate, what we're doing right now. Let's keep track of how we can improve these programs, what this next person could potentially come and do, because a lot of folks are leaving, whether they're shifting positions or retiring. And you want to set up the next person for success so they can pick it up, but they can also see like, okay, let's try it this way, and here's how I'm going to add my spin to it. But I think succession planning is going to be like a huge thing that's hopefully a lot of agencies will explore that opportunity and like do that within their teams sooner than later, because we're going to see a huge shift in leadership and agencies. I see the next 5 years. I mean, when you go to NRPA, you see all these people that are definitely going to be retiring, and then we have all these really eager younger professionals who are just ready to go. But we would like a little bit of a map.
Yes, a little bit of a map that we can put, maybe even put it online. Here's a general map so that you don't cross.
Yeah, it's a general map. Yeah.
So I got succession planning, listening first, not afraid to say I don't know. And I have interviewed both, Molly and Gabby, all the way through people that have retired after 40 years. And I can tell you one of the things that they told me is they never stopped that listening process, that helped me to understand what you're doing. And this is what they were saying at the end of their career. So the fact that y'all are starting off with that means you're leveraging 40 years of wisdom, which is listen first, seek to understand before you seek to be understood. And I love what who was, might have been Rachel, said, not afraid to say, I don't know. I don't know if y'all remember that old Star Wars, Star Trek, what was it line that Data said, beginning of wisdom is I don't know. So
We're not that old, Greg. I'm sorry.
This is when I was little. I was watching Star Trek. But the wisdom still stands true on some of those stuff, is that learning to listen is something that you're picking up right now, but it's something that so many people never put down, and it's something that served them well through their entire career. Are there any other little nuggets like that y'all are picking up from in YPN? And then also, what topics have y'all covered in YPN? If you had to explain it to somebody, let's say a young person that's not in YPN, and you just had like an elevator speech to give them, say, this is what you're going to learn if you come to YPN.
Ooh, I guess. Go for it. Go for it, Molly. Go for it.
Nope, go for it, Gabby.
No, chair. Let's go.
I don't have an elevator pitch. I would say, so for us, Craig, every single year we have like a YPN retreat, and we've really taken the time to listen to our members that are able to attend, which is actually a decent amount of people. I think we had almost 50 last time. And we brainstorm and we talk about what topics are beneficial for young professionals and what do you want to see and get out of this upcoming year at YPN. Which is how Rec Club was developed, that new initiative, because folks really wanted that extra space to talk about, interview skills, how to maybe present at a public meeting, how to, network, write resumes, things of that nature. So there's professionals that are on that end, and we definitely cater to them. And then there's also, we have park maintenance, we have capital funding, we have learning how to lead up, essentially. So learning how to maybe, communicate and be effective leaders with upper management. We have budgeting talks. We have CPRP prep. It runs the gamut based on what the need is and what the gaps are in our community. And I think we do have one on advocacy, which is a huge piece. Everyone should learn how to be advocates within their communities, the state and national level as well. So those are some things that we're going to be working on this upcoming year, and I know it's going to shift next year. So,
yeah, love it. Anyone else have something to add? How are you pitching this to a non-YPN member that fits the demographic but just not in it yet? What kind of value could you say it's going to bring into their career or their life?
So it's kind of funny. So when I was gonna, go for it, Cassie.
No, Gabby, you and Molly were already kind of going, so I'll let you go. And then I'll go after you.
And I'll be quick. I was just gonna compare it to almost like a buffet, right? When you go to the buffet, there's all these different options. There's all these different foods from all over the world, and it kind of is like that. And kind of Molly broke it down for us. Is there's just so many topics that range from, we talked about mental health and capital improvement and all of these things. So it's little nuggets that all of our roles somewhere intersect with. So that's why I was just going to call it a buffet. So you get a little bit of everything, We mix it up.
I like it.
My little elevator pitch that I've kind of done over the years really just talks about like it can open up so many doors, right? So even if you're only attending the online meetings, that's how I started. I attended the online meetings for like a year, and then the leadership positions opened up, and so I wanted to volunteer for one of those, and it lists in there, preferred that you're attending the conference if you're going to be on the leadership team so that you can be at that in-person meeting. And I was able to go talk to my director at the time, who was very supportive of professional development opportunities, and say, hey, look, I'm wanting to, volunteer for this leadership position. If I do, would I be able to go to conference? Whereas previously, only people that went to conference from our organization were our director and our assistant director. And so she was like, you know what? Yeah, if you're going to put in the time and you want to do that, then we'll support you. We'll send you to NRPA. So that was my foot in the door. Just coming to these meetings and then getting on the leadership team was my foot in the door to being able to then attend NRPA and meet all these amazing professionals and develop my, my tribe, so to speak, and have those kind of really meaningful relationships develop. And then I used that after the fact of when I switched from New Braunfels to Shirts. That was part of my interview of like, what's your guys's stance on professional development. Would this position be going into NRPA? And I really kind of said, that's a priority for me. So for me to take this position, I'm going to need to be able to go to NRPA because it's important, it's impactful. And so really using kind of some of these networks as a tool to advocate for yourself and get further professional development is kind of how I've pitched it to people to just get involved and get their name out there.
Love it. Max or Rachel, whichever one.
So, yeah. So as far as how do I pitch it as a network of peers that you're in a safe space with, essentially, to be able to talk about fears. Imposter syndrome has been a big one that consistently comes up in our community. It gives them an opportunity to hear new ideas and to learn from each other, especially as we've started diving more into these roundtables where people get to give their opinions and they get to talk through some issues that they're working on or just ask questions. It's giving them an opportunity to build that community and to continue to be vulnerable when they otherwise might have to put on a front of, I'm holding it together in their agency or in their state. And so it gives them a lot of growth opportunities.
Got it.
I would say for me, how I've explained to my staff is kind of like it hits on what I think everyone has talked about a little bit, is just like the collaboration networking part of it. You get to meet and be connected with individuals all over the country. And with that comes all these different perspectives and experience that you can imbue onto yourself. With my staff, I'm like, especially for the young professionals, we will support you in all the ways possible, but we're not having expertise on everything. Some of our perspectives might not fit what you want for yourself right now or for your career in the future. And going to the YPN like meetings that we have, you're able to get so many really interesting things that you might not have thought of. Sometimes they show you pathways that you might not have known you wanted to go or what to follow. I think it's a perfect foundation for a young professional that just helps you take that step, whether you're afraid or not, to go on forward. Whether it's with the organization you're with or another one, you're just learning all these other things that you might not have been focused or keyed on that are really important to you.
Yeah. And I think you can really start to use the hive mind as in you're not alone in pursuing this, something that could be intimidating when you're trying to replace a 30 or 40-year vet, or you're not left a succession plan, that you're not the only one in crisis mode here trying to figure out what's going on. So sometimes just knowing you have someone else with the same struggle can help you push through it. Okay. Are there any, what is the current, what does the year look like? Is it like a monthly Zoom call plus an annual thing at the national convention and then maybe an in-person retreat? Like, what does the whole calendar year look like for YPN?
Yeah, so we do monthly meetings. So we'll do once a month. It's the third Tuesday every month. And from there, it's just like the educational sessions that we picked. We try to encourage engagement on our social media, like our Facebook, our NRPA Connect, in order for folks to ask questions and maybe share some resources. And then Rec Club is that second touch point every single month for folks to either dive into roundtables. There's just a book club. So there's different opportunities there. And then conference, if you're able to attend, which is great if you can. There is that in-person retreat, and then you have the opportunity to do like take a YP to lunch, which is a super neat opportunity. Like more seasoned professional is what I should say, can take a young professional to lunch or get a coffee. And then we have like a social. So there's several touch points, but also a lot of folks that are on the national YPN, they're also involved with their local young professional, like in terms of their state. So they probably have the opportunity to meet in person quarterly or do additional educational sessions, depending on their state as well.
Now, I did have, I spoke to someone in Wisconsin yesterday, and I was telling them about what we were doing today. He said that their state organization has shifted from YPM to EPN, which is Emerging Professionals Network, to address people that maybe spent 5 or 6 years, say, in accounting or forestry or something like that. But this is even though they may be older, they're new to Parks and Recreation. What are y'all's thoughts around that?
I love it. We always say when we'll post our meetings and other like Facebook group, like the Women in Parks and Rec or mentoring recreation professionals, and our little caveat's always like, we don't card. If this is content that's relevant to you, please come
Right.
join us.
Right. Right. Because yeah, if you're new to something, it doesn't really matter your age as much as this is day one, even though I might be a few years old.
But I also think there's value to folks that maybe aren't young professionals attending some of our meetings as well, because it also gives them the opportunity to network with young professionals and hear those perspectives. And then we also want our members to be in other networks as well, right? Whether it's leadership development or women's in parks and rec or aquatics, or, like on our state, we have a camp one. And I think there's value to being in multiple opportunities instead of just saying, again, siloed, right, per se in YPN, but vice versa. We want those folks to come see what's going on if the topic is relevant to them, and also to network with us. So I think that's a good message to share on that piece.
Well, and the other thing is too is like perspective. I mean, we have Chad Norton that helps us out tremendously with our YPN. He is a super awesome person. He's always advocating for young professionals, and he says it himself. Like, he wants to be able to learn from us just as much as we learn from him. And I think those conversations are so important. And then to see somebody who is more of a seasoned professional be invested in us. I mean, look at all of us as far as I think we've done really well for how old we are in the career paths that we're on and the roles that we play in our cities and our communities. So it is nice to see that somebody who has all of these years of experience kind of look at us and say, okay, well, now what can I learn from you? What can I take away from you?
Yeah. Yeah. And Chad came on my show and was like, I was afraid to speak. I wouldn't know what I was saying. And then he just killed it. It's like, he did fantastic. You're coming back for sure. And he is a huge supporter of you guys. So that's off to him. I think he's probably listening to this one. Thank you, Chad.
He's 100% listening. I actually just met him in person last week at an American Camp Conference unexpectedly. It was super neat. And it's really cool when you get to see those opportunities. You're on a national call, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, wow, it's nice to meet you in person.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Kind of the thought process behind for the YPs at conference publication that we do ahead of NRPA. We used to just do like the young professionals, but then we, realized we have this like whole group of professionals that have aged out, quote unquote, of the program, but have, are passionate about helping the next generation. Like Shane Mize and Tom Manero and all of these people that used to be in the program. And so we started a page, Katie McCammon started it, where it's Friends of YPN, and it has their face and kind of their information about like the topics you could talk to them about. But it's like, if you see these people at conference, don't be scared to go introduce yourself, say hi. They want to support young professionals. So I think kind of bridging that gap and having those relationships is really good for our network.
What's that called? Friends of YPN?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's we do a YPN publication for conference. We don't actually print it off. I think I print off a couple copies for our in-person meeting, but it's just a virtual like PDF file that we make that any of the young professionals that are coming to conference can submit their bio and their like LinkedIn profile and their email address and their headshot, and so that they can kind of look through it and see some friendly faces of people they might be able to see at conference, because sometimes it's nerve-wracking if you're going to conference alone or you don't know anybody. So it's just like, here are some young professionals that are going to be attending. And it used to just be young professionals. And then we added on, the first year we did it, we had like one page of the Friends of YPN. And then this past year, I think we have 2 pages now, because we just have more and more professionals that are interested in kind of helping advance that next generation.
Yeah.
So the really cool thing too about having those allies and those friends, not just at conference, but I know I'm going to refer to Chad again because Chad is a rock star and I love him, but he is wonderful about being like, hey, Rachel, have you met so-and-so? Because I think you guys have a lot of great talking points that you need to connect on. Or have you met such and such? Like, they have an idea that you were talking about a problem the other day. And having those allies be able to connect you to people who have been in the field for 20, 30, 40 years, who have the solution that you're looking for, goes so far in giving us the tools and the confidence to be able to implement some of the challenges and products that we're looking to. And it goes so far to give us that step up, that leg up that otherwise we'd have to reinvent the wheel for.
Yeah. Oh, Cassie, can you send me that publication just so I can start to digest that a little bit more? And actually, we can take a pause right here. One of my content creators, Chris, thank you so much for making this for us. This is essentially like as if you hired a photographer and last minute he's like, what do you want me to take pictures of? And you just said trees and ran out the door, and he doesn't know anything about trees. So I literally said, just go Google YPN, find all you can, make something, and we'll critique it and improve it from there. So I'm going to press play. If y'all have something to write down with what you like, what you'd like to add, we have this AI software where he can type and it speaks in my voice, which is just crazy to me. And I could make it in Spanish too, and I would start speaking Spanish. So he actually typed out all the words, even though it's my voice. And then a lot of the, if we just had more native images of you guys, either at a conference or just hanging out or at some retreat, then they could incorporate that into the video. Right now, it's just a bunch of, templated short videos and stuff. So anyway, I'll play that. If y'all could take a few notes and give him some good critiques, because we got to give him more than just trees as he's running out the door. All right, here we go. So, minute 24. The future of parks and recreation is here, and it starts with you. Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Recreation Show, where we bring you the latest insights, trends, and conversations shaping the world of parks and recreation. Today, we're diving into something that's shaping the future of our industry, Young Professional Networks, or YPN. If you love your job and love the parks and recreation community and are looking to connect with the next generation of leaders, this episode is for you. YPN is where driven, passionate professionals come together to connect, grow, and make a real impact. It's not just about networking, it's about building the future of our communities. Why join YPN? Career growth and mentorship. Learn from the best in the industry. Innovative ideas and collaboration. Be part of the next big movement. Leadership development. Take charge, make decisions, and create change. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your career to the next level, YPN is your gateway to success. From exclusive networking opportunities to cutting-edge industry insights, this is where you build your legacy. Because the future of parks and recreation starts with you. Okay, so what you can do is, this is how you'll speak. You'll just say, Chris, can you? So I will say, Chris, and he'll be watching this. So Chris, can you, I think it's Young Professionals Network, not Young Professional Networks. Am I correct? Is that right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Chris, make sure you take the S off of the end of network, put it on the end of professionals. Is there any other things that y'all would like Chris to add, take away? It'd be nice if he had kind of stuff that he can incorporate just off of first glance.
I think like actual photos of the industry, right, or videos, and maybe from perspectives of young professionals like within their agencies. So that's, when you're trying to have that messaging, like the wording was great, but I think like the pictures weren't necessarily matching. And I know a lot of us have footage of us at our agencies, and it'd be cool to maybe like ping it out to some other people on YPN to be like, hey, do you have a cool clip of you, doing a professional development piece or in the field, and making a video based on that. So it's the actual perspective of what you could do being in the industry.
Yeah, if you look at Devin Stadler's video, we did a little piece on his community and him, but there's a picture of him, just a video of him explaining something to someone, and then there's background music along with script. So even if you have a picture of y'all coaching or working with a kid or doing a ribbon cutting, Chris can incorporate those videos into it. And then Chris, a lot of the initial testimonies of what these 5 people thought YPN was, you can use that as a lot of the script for the V2.0 for this. Anything else for Chris from anybody?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to mirror what Molly said because I wrote it down. I said imagery is important. You really need to get into departments. This is really going to showcase and give people a better understanding of what it is that we do. But shout out, Chris. Thanks for putting my video up there from NRPA. That was awesome.
He probably just scoured the internet. They're pretty good at just finding stuff. I think they're PIs previously in another life.
Hope you're gonna
Anything-
hear happy birthday singing in the background. One of my staff's birthdays going on, so
Oh, fantastic. Anyone else have any other critiques for Chris that he can add? And then, and look, we're going to have version 3, version 4 as it improves. So anything will help for now. Okay, so on that group chat at LinkedIn, if y'all have any images or videos, you can just send it on there, and he'll take it from there. It doesn't have to be anything special. Okay, the in-person thing, the conference in person, what does that look like? Is that part of the national convention, or is that a separate standalone thing that you attend?
it's like the night before the conference kicks off, essentially. So like networks have the opportunity to do in-person meetings. So it's not like a special thing just for our network. Every national network has the opportunity to, and it's really just a chance to make people have connections prior to the conference, so they have someone to eat with or sit with, and kind of gain that confidence to go around the expo hall. And really it'll help them introduce other people that are in the industry. And then we do like some team building, and then we ultimately make that roadmap for that upcoming year. And that gives the opportunity for like the incoming chair and that leadership team to really shine too and introduce themselves and get to know that group they're going to be working with.
Awesome.
So I do want to say this, though, because I think it's kind of funny and it kind of falls into what Molly said about us doing this before conference actually starts. So NRPA 2023, when we were in Dallas, we went to the pre-social before conference started, where they had it just in that open park area, if you guys remember. And I was with 2 of my colleagues that were all really good friends, and we're kind of walking. We're getting ready to go back to the conference convention center so we can get ready for the YPN meeting. And we saw this young woman just kind of standing on the sidewalk, and she's like, "Hey, are you guys going to this YPN meeting? I don't know where to go. I have no idea." And I don't know what it was, but it just clicked. We adopted her for the rest of the conference. Like, she was with us the whole rest of the time. Her name is Elsa. She's actually in Connecticut too. And it was her first conference. She had never been to one before. She had never worked in Parks and Rec. And we just kind of took her under our wing. She even helped us out with our presentation on that Thursday, passing out our goodies. And then even in this past conference now, because we still text during the year, this past conference in Orlando, she was at my session again, helping me pass out stuff, all the goodies for my session. So it just goes to show what these simple things that we don't even think about, like the relationships that we get. And then to say that I would not have met any of you if it wasn't for YPN. So it's a really dope concept for sure.
Max and Cassie were the first people that I really met in Nashville, and they're along with a few of our other professionals. They're some of the reasons why I'm still in the industry, because I was new and I was pretty alone, because I was a new director, right? So it's pretty tough to come in as a young professional as a director. And Max, Cassie, and several other people, they were so nice and took me under their wing, and now we're best friends, whether you like it or not.
Oh, cut it, Chris. That's the one. There's the soundbite. We're going to lead with that one. That was great. That was the testimony we're looking for. So how do y'all want to use this weekly show? Maybe just a couple of things I'll think about up front. Is the panel guests. I kind of like the panel format, even though I do mostly interviews on the other shows. I'm thinking we need maybe me and at least 3 others, and it doesn't have to be all of y'all every time. It could just be one of you, or since there's 50, and we can get maybe Chad in here. What's the good mix that y'all would recommend as far as a number of people? I mean, I'm fine with 6, 4, 5, whatever. Any suggestions?
I think no more than 6, because that'd probably be too much, and then not everybody will be able to use their voice for what it is that you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But I think more so even still just spotlighting young professionals. And I think sometimes we do need that pat on the back. I am doing something that's really cool. And, to be a part of these podcasts or to be able to lead YPN or do what it is that we're doing, we probably should be showcasing that for that in ourselves more. I don't think we hype each other. I don't think we hype ourselves up enough. And I think this will give people the platform to do just that.
Yeah, and if we do this for every Friday, we're talking 52 shows a year, and then we could bring someone that y'all might look at as a teacher, as a mentor, as one of them, and then have 2 YPN guests. That would get us to the 4 number. But like you said, I think even 5 or 6, over 6, you're right, that would probably be too many. So that's just that opportunity. Any other suggestions on the topic?
Yeah,
If
I
you're
like
gonna do
having a couple, and then maybe if you're probably not all of us each week, like you said, like maybe one of us, and then somebody depending on what the topic is, and we can pull in like past YPN people as well, like depending on what the topic is. If it was something about marketing, Katie McCammon's great. Even pulling in some of the state associations. So I know like Miranda is our state association chair currently, and like Katie and AJ built up the Virginia one, so that might be interesting conversation about how they kind of developed. They started that in Virginia, so stuff like that I think would be good, and just kind of depending on what the topic is for the week, pulling in people depending on that.
And I think it would be great to pull in some folks that, even if one of us is the core of like the show, to pull in the people that we work with or that we've worked in other places with that are still that very young professional who are doing the work or the boots on the ground work, or they're growing, so that they get the opportunity to shine too, and to give their perspective as that very young professional.
Now, what define very young professional? Is that like how young?
So I'm looking like a year or two out of college that they've just started. They've been attending the meetings. They're trying to get their feet wet. They're growing, but they're still doing the work, and they want their voice to be able to be heard too.
Yeah. And then we could also have maybe the graduates, like who did I talk to in Katy, Texas? Was it, he was a big YPN person. He said it had a big impact on him. I'll have to remember which one it was. But even someone that are just outside of this and what it meant to them to come through this, kind of like almost that testimony that Molly just gave, like the impact YPN had on her, which you can only look at reflecting backwards, not necessarily when you're just coming in. But I think that was important to highlight as well, just as a testimony to the organization. Anyone else?
We could definitely like put out to current members of YPN and past members as well to see like what the interest is, engage it through just posing those questions maybe in the next meeting, but also on our social media and then through some of our connections. We can pose the question, see who's interested, who wants to talk.
Yeah.
It might surprise us. We might be like, cool, like, you've been coming to the meetings. You're not, you know what I mean? Maybe they don't necessarily talk too much on our meetings, but they'd really love to share their story in another format. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we really can't, because there's not like 50 people online. You actually have some room on stage to have your voice heard, even if just for 5 or 10 minutes throughout a 1 hour show, versus just all listening in almost like a lecture format, because there's just too many people for everyone to have a chance to speak. And then we're doing this weekly, so there's a lot of bandwidth across a whole year. Anything else on how we can use the show?
I think just timing it too with the things that are going on, like when session proposals are open and stuff like that, maybe having somebody talk about, that's one of the big things we've pushed. And our state one was like, you might be going to conference right now, but you have things that can be talked about too. We need to hear from you as young professionals. So timing that, and then maybe some of the CPRP stuff when the sale's going on, or the externship program when that's going on. So just timing it around some of those opportunities to kind of highlight what's coming up. And like before NRPA conference, highlighting the Taking Young Professionals, like kind of diving into some of those different topics.
Max, you got anything?
I think also maybe it would also be really important that obviously we work all like in municipal sort of agencies or governments, local, but also the YPNs who are working in kind of parks and recreation centered companies, organizations on the private side. I think Parks and Recreation and having that background expands to more opportunities than people really know. People think, all right, I'm a summer day camp counselor, or I start off as a lifeguard and I kind of stay on this track, when there's all these other things that you can do that can still keep you connected to the Parks and Recreation, but you might not have to work for a city. You're working with a consulting firm, or you're kind of doing some other things. So also bringing in those young professionals, because it's generally a conference when I'm able to talk with individuals that work on that side of things and actually kind of get understand what they do, versus like it just being like, hey, we need a new playground, we need a vendor, and then it's kind of like a part of the job. Like actually being like, okay, well, how did you start in this? And oftentimes a lot of them have the same backgrounds we do. They just went on another path that oftentimes a lot of people don't know that you can go. So I think that'd be really good too.
Yeah, that's a good. And actually, I did have a volunteer from someone that I was close to, Skylar. She couldn't make it today, but she volunteered to help kind of organize this as far as, making sure we have 4 people every week and reaching out to them and kind of that whole scheduling piece. So I think I kind of got that covered. And of course, I can host this thing every Friday because I'm already here every Friday. And then maybe between me and Skylar, I can find another person that's willing to lead. Let's see. Oh, y'all know Sevi Ghosh by any chance out in San Francisco? I don't know if y'all heard of him. He kind of works on side of the same Jamie Sabak. But he had suggested, he has taught in, what do they call it? Director school. And he would like to put on an annual kind of school education kind of convention, whatever, where it's not, you don't have like a 200 breakout sessions. And of course you can only attend, a dozen of them, but rather everyone sits in the same classroom, like with Jamie or with Sevi, and then they just say, these are the 12 classes. And he said he could donate all the facilities, so it would rip all that cost completely off the, being a burden there. And then he had some deals with local hotels. And then I can find some sponsorships from some of the vendors that I work with to try to really defer the cost almost down to not much for young professionals that really wanted an in-depth jump start for something like that. Do y'all think that would be, and so I told him, I said, well, I'll just throw it out to the group and see what they say. And maybe next year we can launch it or something, and I could help with that as well. What are y'all's thoughts around that? Or what kind of feedback can we give Sevi around something like that?
I mean, I definitely think it's a cool concept. I think if I remember correctly, I think me and Molly were kind of talking about it last year. And it was just kind of a quick, like, hey, we want to kind of shake it up and revamp and do some really cool things. And we were even being dorks, like we could do like superlatives and like all this like fun, cool stuff, I don't think it's a bad concept. We just have to make sure then that it's affordable. And then I think the downside of that, though, is there's some agencies that don't really take the importance of what professional development is for their young professionals. And then there's some departments that really support it. So we just have to make sure then that it's accessible for all, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could come up with a scholarship program for that. And we were trying to keep it to like just 50 people, first come, first serve. So then we could say, all right, we need 50 scholarships. This is what, and then maybe everyone has to buy their own plane ticket. And if we did it to a major city like San Francisco, I've hosted stuff in New Orleans, which is where I'm from, which is a super reasonable city to host an event at. Plus, it's a destination city that everybody would like to go to personally, even if this is a professional development, it'd be fun. You can't come to New Orleans without having fun. I promise you that. I don't know if I've been San Francisco. It's been a while for me, but
Craig, I do think that Chris Nunes and I were chatting about some sort of like in-person leadership development kind of stuff for some younger professionals too, at least in the Northeast. We were talking about that. I'd be happy to connect you offline. I think he would be a good person. He would probably lead some sort of educational piece with that.
Yeah, I've been knowing Chris for a while. He actually was an early, this light right here. He bought a bunch of those from me when I had a manufacturing. Well, I guess I still do, but now I'm just full-time. YouTube influencer, I guess. But yeah, he is a wealth of knowledge, and I think he probably holds the record for the most stuff YP Parks and Rec attended and taught at. He's a machine. So yeah, I think whatever we do, we want to involve the Sevis, the Chris Nunes, and the Jamies. They're perfectly willing to pitch in to create something good, at least on the educational side. And it wouldn't take much to put a weekend together in a city that's got a lot of support from a big Parks and Rec department that'll just donate everything they can, and that has good hotel connections. And if we kind of frame it in somewhat of a let's give back by helping jumpstart the next wave of leaders coming in, then I think I can get sponsorship for that as well, and then just make it as affordable as possible.
I do really like your thought of the 50-person max, especially for the first time. We just did our first directors conference in Virginia, and being able to have that cap of 50, which is what we capped it at, made it so that we actually got to talk to everybody that was in the cohort, and so that we were able to really make those deep connections, so that when we leave the conference, we have those peer network that we can call on. Any bigger, or I mean much bigger, especially as you get into the size of state conferences, it's a little overwhelming to make those deep connections. And I really like that idea. I think that's great.
Yeah, great idea on that, Sevi. And just as hosting events, and really for my whole life, from nonprofits to boys clubs and father-son groups and stuff like that, having a cap makes a big difference on what you can do, because anything over 50, it's hard to move around more than 50 people in a city, and you don't really get deep connections because there's just too many people. And to Molly's point about just connecting with a few people, and then those connections can go with you. If there seems to be a bigger outpouring, we can just hold a second event rather than trying to cram more people into an event that should be kind of small and more intimate. Yeah, that's a lot of great. Any other feedback around that? I know Sevi's going to be listening to this one. Is there anyone else that y'all have that have stood up to speak for y'all, like Chad or any of those, that we should involve in this, like Chris Nunes?
I would say Molly Bot is a big supporter of young professionals. And I know when I was the YPN chair, he had thrown some ideas of like wanting to get an in-person YPN thing together, even if it was like a think tank kind of thing about the future of the field and whatnot. Max and I just spoke with him at the state conference. He's come on to the both YPN calls and our state future and young professional calls. So I think he's another.
What's his name again?
Molly Bot.
How do you spell that?
NEELAYBHAET.
Okay. Anyone else that y'all would recommend?
I would say Lakita Frazier. She is the founder of Women in Parks and Rec. She has been a huge advocate here in Virginia, even before she started the network. She's born and raised and has been a great proponent for young professionals.
Yep. Yeah, Lakita did some good work there. All right. Well, if y'all think of any others. Okay. So I think we're roundtable Thursday, Tuesday. And as far as the time slot, I thought Fridays is a great time for it. Kind of end of the week, but I don't know if sometimes that could be a disaster trying to do something with y'all on Friday, because y'all are going into a heavy weekend or some event space. But I think there's enough people in population that it's not like, putting all the burden on one. Almost if you could attend something once every 6 weeks, that's probably all we would need. Every month. It's not a massive commitment, but we'll. What are y'all's thoughts around that?
I think that still works.
I agree.
Yeah, I like the time slot. All right, we're already at 51 minutes. Any closing remarks to the community we can leave them with for the weekend?
I will go first because I actually have to jump off. I just want to say that I feel so blessed to be surrounded with some really, and I'm going to say it, kick-ass professionals like yourselves. And I do mean that. I'm like, come on, man. I had to say it. Honestly, though, Craig, this is so cool. This is really rad. And I think it gives us a good opportunity. I mean, we met on the call a couple of weeks ago. And at that point, we're like, we really need to do this more. I mean, I think we kind of take for granted some of the relationships that we can foster through YPN and through Parks and Recreation in general. So I just want to say thank you for wanting to collaborate with YPN and doing, your service to the industry and helping to, keep it going and growing. So with that, though, I'm peacing out. Bye, guys. Have a great day and have a happy weekend. Craig, thank you again.
Yeah. Love you, Gabby. Thank you.
Bye, guys. See you guys later.
All right. Closing remarks? Who's next?
I would echo something that Gabby said, that, you're shining a light on YPNs. The past 2 years I've been in the publication side of YPN, and it was always a great opportunity to hear the stories of young professionals. They didn't just end up here by accident, and sometimes they did, but a lot of times there was a lot of intention behind it, and there's a lot of intention in what they do. And so you're giving people an opportunity to make a difference in this industry and to share their stories really intentionally. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving a lot of YPs a voice.
Yeah, I'm writing that one down. I've taken a page of notes here. So thank you, Rachel. Okay. Who's next?
I'm just going to echo both of them as well. I think, thank you for allowing us to have this platform. It was awesome to be able to chat with you the other week. And then when you had posted that you were interested in continuing this and offering us a space to talk and share experiences and stories, this will ultimately allow us to connect with more folks across the country and hopefully encourage young professionals to continue to advance their career and learn from each other and want to stay within Parks and Recreation. So thank you again for just giving us the space. It means a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We all are quite an awesome bunch to work with and highlight. So it's a pleasure.
It's a great group. So yeah,
really
everyone's really motivated.
We're so lucky to have this career path, by the way. It's a great industry. Who's next?
I would just say, I think this is going to be great. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it's important to have these conversations and let other YPNs hear about, that we're all kind of going through the same challenges. I know that's kind of our biggest takeaway. Like my biggest takeaway from conference is hanging out with these individuals that are on this call right now and talking about stuff that I'm like, are you guys going through this? And they're like, yes. So I think letting everybody know that we're all going through the same stuff, you're not alone, is going to be really good hearing from different YPs each week and all those perspectives.
Are bombs falling all around you as well? Yes, they are. The chaos is normal. Rachel, Max?
The one thing I'll say is obviously it's going to echo what everyone has said a little bit with just like how amazing it is to be able to give the exposure to people that I think absolutely deserve it. There's some incredible young professionals that are doing amazing things. And the hope is to inspire and encourage other individuals. Because I know kind of like what Molly spoke a little about earlier, when she came into her role, she was probably the youngest person there, especially in executive leadership, probably across the city at that time. So in a lot of places, individuals are coming in, you're a little bit anxious. There's some, some ideas of like, am I even the right person for this? Am I actually capable? And they are capable, whether you're the one young professional in your organization or you have a group. It's more expansive than and to kind of hit on what Cassie talked about, there's more individuals dealing with your same problems than so this offers an opportunity to lean on those people and be like, oh, I'm not siloed, I'm not alone. There's a lot of us out there and we're all willing to help. And I hope someone's going to be able to watch this and get encouraged and inspired, where it's like, you might have a rough patch, but there's absolute giant lights at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Max. Rachel, you want to bring us home?
Well, I mentioned it earlier with the publication side and giving voices to young professionals. But ultimately, just thank you for giving us space. A lot of times we aren't always seen for who we are and what we can bring to the table. So I'm so excited to see young professionals be given a light and the opportunity to really make a difference.
Yeah. Well, before y'all know it, you will be shouldering the entire industry. So no pressure. It's coming. Y'all are going to be the leaders. So anything we can do to give y'all a head start, definitely our pleasure. Thank y'all so much for attending today. And we will be here again next Friday, YPN Fridays, 12 noon Eastern, 52 times a year. So if you are listening to this and you would like to join YPN, participate in YPN, and you don't have to officially be signed up for whatever YPN stuff, just reach out to us. We'll get you plugged in. And then if you want to attend any of these other things that you've heard mentioned on the show, we'll figure out how to connect you to that monthly meeting or to the in-person stuff. And if we put together a 50 in-person event, it'll be first come, first serve. Let us know if you're interested in volunteering or helping in any way, and we'll get this thing rolling. But y'all have an awesome weekend. Thank y'all so much for everything y'all do. And especially to all those maintenance guys that are steadily fighting Mother Nature to keep our park systems beautiful. We got a show coming just for y'all 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. Not next week, but the following week, I think, is going to be our first launch. But I'm glad we got this one launched. I'd say this was a massive success. It was more than just pressing play. We actually got some good work done here, some great content. So appreciate you guys. Have an awesome weekend.
Thank you.
Yep.
Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
When you invest in our high-performance LED sports arena lights, you're not just upgrading your facilities, you're helping us illuminate the untold stories of parks and recreation communities. Every purchase directly supports the Daily Parks and Rec Show, a media platform on a mission to celebrate the heart and soul of our local parks and programs. From after-school activities to summer leagues, these spaces shape lives, and their stories deserve to be told. Why your support matters. Capturing community impact. Your contribution helps us assemble a talented team of digital artists, storytellers, and filmmakers to create compelling videos, articles, and short films that spotlight how Parks and Rec programs change lives. Sharing untold stories. From a child's first home run to lifelong friendships forged on the court, we'll document these priceless moments and share them with the world. Inspiring the next generation. By highlighting the joy, inclusivity, and opportunities found in our parks, we foster a deeper appreciation for these vital community spaces. Light up arenas, brighten futures. Your choice to install LED sports arena lights isn't just a smart investment in energy efficiency and performance, it's an investment in stories that deserve to be told. Be part of the story. Take action today. Purchase LED sports arena lights and help us shine a spotlight on the heartwarming stories that define our parks and communities. Contact us now to learn more about our products and how your support fuels the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Together, we'll shine a light on the moments that matter most.